What really matters is what we say. But that's not the end of the story, is it? We may be able to pass on to people what God has done for them, what He's like, what He wants from us, how to live life God's way, yet somehow manage to do it in a way that's unsympathetic, even offensive, speaking in a way which shows that we don't really understand the person, that we haven't really listened to them. Let's consider 5 suggestions for how to speak both wisely and well. Ultimately, all 5 can be summed up in the one command: love your neighbour as yourself. Applying it to our topic, it means speaking to our neighbour and listening to our neighbour in the way that we would like to be spoken to and listened to. Well, here are the 5 suggestions. Base your advice on the gospel, be specific, be humble, deal with important issues, and know what not to say. 1. Base your advice on the gospel. The first word and the last word that we speak should be a word of grace. Let your speech always be gracious, says Paul in Colossians chapter 4 and verse 6. This means that what we say will be shaped by the gospel message. Avoid legalism at all costs. By that, I mean we want to avoid just giving people rules to live by. Especially, we want to avoid suggesting that people need to do things, such as follow those rules, to please God. He is pleased with us, He loves us, because Jesus died for us, not for any other reason. So, He is not pleased with us simply because of our church attendance, our hours that we spend in prayer, our Bible knowledge, or even our taking part in training courses on how to encourage people, as terrific as all of those things are. On the other side, we'll want to show that God's grace produces fruit. If Jesus is our Saviour, He is now also our King. We will do His will and we'll teach ourselves, our families, our friends and others to do the same actions and changes in us that come about because of the grace of God and for no other reason. 2, be specific. God is the boss of this world. That means that no part of His world or our place in it is beneath concern or comment. How detailed or how specific is God's concern for us? Well, Jesus said, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? And not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. But even the hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear not, therefore, you are of more value than many sparrows." The level of concern God has for us will be reflected then in the concern that the Christian has for others and in the way we speak to each other. If we're wondering what this means, the book of Proverbs is full of examples of observing God's world and understanding that world in the light of fearing God. So, we find Proverbs that encourage us simply to notice things, to be observant and to learn. Go to the ant, O sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. We can learn from watching the created order. We can learn from watching people and how they relate. A gift in secret averts anger, and a concealed bribe, strong wrath. Other proverbs use sarcastic humour to make their point. The sluggard buries his hand in the dish and will not even bring it back to his mouth. It is better to live in a corner of the housetop than in a house shared with a quarrelsome wife. Now, there are many ways of thinking about and applying proverbs like that, but at least one of the things we're being encouraged to do is simply this: to look, to see, to understand the detail of the world we live in, and then to tie it in to our knowledge of God. When we think about how that approach to life applies to our encouragement of others, this means that we will notice and pay attention to the detail of people's lives. What work are they doing? Do they love it? Do they hate it? How would they like to spend their lives? What websites do they visit on the internet? Who inspires them? What did they do on the weekend? Are they in love? Nothing is unworthy of attention. Nothing is too small or mean or insignificant to bring a gospel perspective to bear on it. Now, this is not the same as being a sticky beak. We will respect other people's personal space as we'd expect them to respect ours. But what we're trying to do at all times is simply to fulfill the command, "You shall love your neighbour as yourself."